Dorsey Schrader. Dorsey, first race of the year on pole. You must feel quite confident.
Well, it's a good start. You know, I drove for the team last year, and we figured we'd come here, and we ran into a loophole. I wasn't even supposed to make Trans Am this year, and thanks to Whistler radar detectors, they came to my aid, and we've rented this car and put our body work on it, so it's the first time I've driven it. It is a little bit of a surprise to be on the pole, but then no one's been here before, and I usually excel at learning tracks quickly, so we're confident for the race.
Well, Dorsey's not only going to have to learn the track quickly, he's going to have to learn it in half wet, half dry conditions. A tough job out there for him and all the people behind him. Bob, back to you.
All right, thank you, John. Temperature 59 degrees. It's actually a great day for a race, but for the water underfoot, rain may hit us before the day is out. We have a nice light breeze blowing up the drivers' backs as they head down the long Washington Street straightaway. We'll be back to set up the starting grid for the first event of the SCCA Trans Am Series from Phoenix, Arizona after this. Stay with us. Speed World coverage of the SCCA Trans Am from Phoenix, Arizona is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. By Goodyear Eagle Radials, the best-selling performance radials in the world. And by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. As our field of 36 cars continues to warm engines and tires on the streets of Phoenix, Arizona, let's take a look at the starting lineup. On the pole, we've already met him, the defending series champion from St. Louis, Missouri, Dorsey Schrader, in a Roush-prepared Mustang. Next to him, Tom Kendall, the 23-year-old UCLA economics graduate, looking for his first Trans Am victory. Row 2 will be Max Jones, Dorsey Schrader's teammate and Kendall's former teammate. Row through next to him will be Irv Hare, 2 times the series points runner-up. Row 3 will be Lynn St. James, teammate to Schrader and Jones out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida in a Mustang, next to Big Jack Baldwin in a Chevy out of Marietta, Georgia. Row 4 will be Robert Lapalainen, the last of the 4 Roush cars, next to Wayne Akers out of Lake Worth, Florida. Row 5, Bob Sobey, the hometown favorite from Phoenix, Arizona, next to Paul Gentilosi's Olds, carrying one of our in-car cameras. We're about to go green here at Phoenix, and it looks as though Kendall is going to go for the first turn. Right next to him in the center of your picture, in the red car, is Dorsey Schrader. Next to him, Irv Hare. We've got tires lighting up on Bob Lapalainen's Mustang. It'll be Schrader in the number 1 car, followed by Kendall. A sharp right-hander at the end of Washington Street here in Phoenix. A very tight turn, and you can see the dark spots on the track, letting you know there is still lots of water out there, and it is getting darker here in Phoenix, David.
Well, that's the thing, is a lot of cloud coming up from the west, and we could have a shower, which is really going to throw these guys into confusion because they've all got slicks. Which for the first couple of laps here is going to be tricky because, as you can see, there's quite a bit of water lying around. There's Tom Kendall in the Beretta, Scott Hare, in Irv Hare in the number 15 Oldsmobile there. His brother had a bad day yesterday starting back in the field.
Now we've got a crash. Car number 5 and 42. That's Darren Brassfield from Los Gatos, California, one of the rising stars in this series. And you can see we've got cars all over the racetrack. 42 is Bob Patch from Laverne, California. They have obviously come a cropper in a big way there.
They've come a crop in a big way and they held a lot of the other cars up. It looks like Darren Brassfield's race is run. The car is badly damaged at the left front. They're pulling it away now. Jack Baldwin, number 28, running in 3rd spot. His car there. Jack and I rode together 2 years ago in IMSA racing. He's hanging right on. A lot of people put their money on Jack today here on this tight course.
There you see Darren Brassfield, 26 years old. He was the series rookie of the year at the age of 18 back in 1982. But as you say, David, his race is obviously run for the day. Tough break for Darren. There goes Dorsey Schrader. There goes Tommy Kendall, Jack Baldwin, Irv Hare, Bob Lapalainen, Max Jones, Paul Gentilosi, and Bob Sobey. Street racing. Remember, this is not a purpose-built racetrack, so the rain will not dry off as it normally would on a proper racetrack, if in fact we do get more rain. Good nose-to-tail action here. And Dorsey Schrader getting happy feet at the back of that Mustang as he comes across the start-finish line. Now, to give you an idea of how this court sets up, we're going to get aboard with Paul Gentilosi in our in-car camera. Take it away, David.
Paul Gentilosi coming down Jefferson Street here, which is the main front straight. And in his car, he'll be getting up to about 150 miles an hour as he approaches turn 1. 5 speeds. These cars have only got 4 or 5 speeds and not allowed to have 6-speed boxes. Down to 2nd as he turns right onto 1st Street. He'll probably stay in 2nd all through this complex, turns left. Swings through left here onto Madison Street. Left again onto 2nd. Stay in 2nd gear here. Swings right back onto Madison, now onto Jefferson. And then up through the gearbox as they swerve through here on Jefferson. Just a light curve here. Coming up to the crash scene in a moment, I think. Down into 2nd gear again to go left onto 5th Street. Past the Civic Center here. and a fairly big crowd in there. They're coming to the crash scene. I hear he's lifting off the gas. Left here onto Monroe Street. Down to second again. About 600 horsepower in this car of General Otis. Down Third Street. The only elevation change here is they go under the street there, under the cross street. Down to second again. Now onto the second fastest straight here, Washington. Sounds to me like he's having a lot of trouble getting grip, because those are bits of the track that we've seen which are wet. You can't see from the in-car camera, the track there is wet. He's obviously not being able to get his foot right in it very early on. Down to the end there. Now he's turning right, going on to 3rd Street, 3rd Avenue. Again, he'll stay in the same gear through this complex, I imagine. He'll go off gear here, he goes on Allen Street, probably go up to 4th, back to 2nd again. Making a good tight apex there. You've got to use all the road on these street courses, and of course that's the difficult bit, using all of it, but no more, because of course if you make the slightest mistake, there's no green grass to run into, it's all wall. Comes down this long left-hander there, in 2nd gear, up to 3rd straight away pretty well, and back onto Jefferson Street, completing a lap at about 77 miles an hour.
And there is your leader, Dorsey Schrader, who has opened up an incredible gap over the 2nd and 3rd place cars. That's Jack Baldwin in the green Skull Bandit Chevy Camaro. Behind him, Tommy Kendall in a new Beretta. Now Irv Hare will take Robert Lapalainen down.
A good move there by Irv Hare. He got around Lapalainen. Lapalainen gave him room, but now Irv Hare is really on a roll. And is he going to be able to dispose of Tommy Kendall, one of the youngest drivers in the race?
Whoop, and there is Chris Neifel, Tommy Kendall's teammate. He has got that car off in the runoff. That was at the end of the straightaway. Now that's either Scott Sharp or his teammate Paul Newman coming up behind him. In the 75 car, that is Paul Newman, the popcorn and salad dressing czar from Danbury, Connecticut. Does a little acting on the side, I understand.
Chris Neifel had a bad practice. He's in the second one of those ICI Berettas, and he was starting in the middle of the pack, and he told me before the race that he really thought that he had made a mistake in practice and qualifying and was going to look pretty good in the race, but unfortunately not looking too good at the moment, unlike Dorsey Schrader. Just look at that gap.
Dorsey Schrader just running away here. The Roush team is using 5-liter V8 engines with carburetors on them. Kind of unusual. We're used to seeing fuel-injected engines here in the Trans Am, or just about any kind of American road racing. Now Lapalainen in the black car to the left looks like he's there, and they make contact.
Now there's one of those things. Lapalainen was right alongside, and Hare could probably have given him room. Depends what sort of damage he's done to Hare's car, but the result is that Hare has been pushed back 2 or 3 spots. Jack Baldwin going very strongly here.
A good look there at young Tommy Kendall. We'll get another look at the accident now. Coming up is Lapalainen in the left in the black JPS Ford Mustang.
Probably out of Hare's view there, because he's going so wide to miss that wet patch that was between the 2 cars, that he would be out of Hare's mirror, and he may not have been aware of it being quite there.
Now in the same spot on the racetrack, we have another car gone off. That's the number 13 machine of Michael Sheehan out of Costa Mesa, California, who started 21st in this field. He's just going to back that Camaro up and make the corner. So plenty of action here on the hockey ring. That is the streets of Phoenix, Arizona, and we'll be back for more Trans Am racing after this. On the streets of Phoenix, Arizona, your leader in the SCCA Trans Am event is Dorsey Schrader, but here comes Jack Baldwin, leading Tommy Kendall, Bob Lapalainen, and Max Jones. You can see just how wide these streets are, and you can see what I was talking about earlier, where the water goes. It puddles up. It does not run off as it would on a purpose-built racetrack, and that has posed problems for a number of drivers in this race already.
Well, of course, to make matters worse, it sometimes runs off right into the apex of the corner, because if they happen to be at a cross street and the crown of the road naturally tips the water into those corners right where they want to put these race cars. However, it has dried off pretty well, and if it doesn't rain again, the track will, by the end of this race, be absolutely dry.
Here's the battle for 4th and 5th place. Bob Lapalainen leading Max Jones, who was a member of the Chevy Beretta team with Tommy Kendall last year. He was fired in favor of Chris Neifel, who spun out earlier in this race. Now running nose to tail. There is Kendall in the bright yellow, blue, and white ICI Chevy Beretta. Looks a lot like the Williams Formula One cars. And that's exactly the same sponsor, the same paint job.
And of course the JPS, black JPS car there of Robert Lapalainen, of course, looks so reminiscent of the old JPS Lotus Formula One cars of just a few years back.
There is the wreckage of Darren Brassfield's car. He went out on the first lap. The number 2 car is Max Jones, who has found new life as a road racer. He was the number 2 to Tommy Kendall last year. Now he feels like he has a real shot here in Trans Am. Jack Roush, whose team has ruled this series for 5 of the last 6 years, says Max Jones is my man this year. I'm putting him up for the championship.
And from the way Dorsey Schrader's going, though, it looks like he's going to be a tough man to catch. Jack Baldwin in that typical style there, right up to the wall.
Big Jack Baldwin is a great story. Out of Marietta, Georgia, twice a GTU champion in the under 3-liter class of the International Motorsports Association, driving Mazda rotary engine cars. He then moved up to their GTO class, driving cars very much like this one. Brad Francis from the Peerless Group put the car together, and this thing absolutely howls.
But he's coming under some real tough pressure now from Tommy Kendall. Tommy Kendall and Jack Baldwin get on very well together. They're close buddies off the track. And of course, they're both about the same size, although Kendall has yet to put the weight on that Jack's carrying. He's a slightly older gent, not actually old, but he's a big, beefy guy. And Tommy, of course, is a young, willowy, tall, very clever, intelligent and bright boy, and a good race driver.
In fact, the GTU car that Jack got out of was the one Tommy Kendall got into and won 3 IMSA championships. So these guys have more than a friendship binding them. They also once shared a race car that took Jack to 2 championships and Kendall to 3. Right now they both drive for Chevrolet. Tommy Kendall has been seen in Winston Cup action on the road circuits. In fact, at Watkins Glen, he almost won last year. He was leading that race over all of the big names of the Winston Cup, driving for Rick Hendrick out of Charlotte, North Carolina, but a mechanical breakdown late in the race took him out of it.
Well, Tommy Kendall is definitely the Chevrolet blue-eyed boy. He's the guy that Chevrolet are putting a lot of time and money into. Ford are putting it into Robbie Gordon and, of course, the Roush team. But Tommy Kendall is the Chevrolet chosen man, and of course Jack Baldwin is also very much a favorite. And both of these cars have quite active support. The Skoll car of Jack Baldwin and of course the ICI car of Tommy Kendall both get quite a bit of support from the factory. And there's a slower car there, just wandering his way down the middle of the road, the usual way of the slow cars.
That's the 86 car, Jerry Pavis. He made a quick stop before the race got underway, so he may be having a mechanical problem. There you see Tommy Kendall.
Ooh, and Baldwin is using up a lot of road here. But as long as he just kisses the wall, he's okay. But if he hits it too hard, now there's of course a little tricky bit here as they come down Washington Street to this braking area. You've got that nasty patch of water, which makes really good outbraking difficult, because if you go on the inside of the water, you're really cutting down your line as you turn onto 3rd Street there.
Right out to the concrete barriers, weighing some 8,000 pounds apiece. Jack Baldwin, Tommy Kendall. Here comes the black JPS car. That's Bob Lappalainen from Finland. Says he'd like to go promote races in Finland, bring the Trans Am over to Scandinavia and even run them over in Russia.
That's his goal, is to run a Trans Am race in Russia. And the way the world's changing at the moment, oh, look at that now. Baldwin lost a bit of time coming out of that corner. And right alongside him is Tommy Kendall.
Now they're approaching the moment of truth. They'll have to start hard braking here. And it looks like Kendall's got him before they reach the braking area.
Kendall certainly seemed to have superior performance down the straightaway, but of course it stems from the fact that he came off the last turn here, which is that long 180-degree corner, just slightly better than Jack. Now can Jack pull it back and retake the place? Lappalainen giving Jack Baldwin a tough time now. This is the sort of racetrack where you have to be pretty careful with your tyres. It's very easy to burn the rear tyres off especially. And in front of us is Paul Gentilozzi in the number 7 car. Unfortunately, our camera car has obviously had very severe contact with the wall.
That was coming on to the Jefferson Street, the front straightaway. He is parked up against the wall just across from the pit area. Unhooking all the various buttons. The window net is down and Paul Gentilozzi will be climbing out. Tough break for Gentilozzi, who won his first Trans Am in 1988 at Long Beach, California, when a couple of cars crashed out in front of him. A surprise winner, the man who brought Oldsmobile their very first victory in Trans Am, is done for the day. And with it, unfortunately, our camera.
Oldsmobile put quite a bit of money into this project, although they've got a lot of cars here.
Careful there, Paul.
Unfortunately, of course, they've lost 2 of their front runners, Gentilozzi, and of course the other car that they were hanging their hat on a bit really was Darren Brassfield in the sister car to this, the number 5 car that was knocked out just so early on in the race.
2 of the 4 cars owned by Paul Gentilozzi in this race. So let's take another look at what happened to him, David.
Coming around that last corner, the long one, I was telling you, it's only dry on line. If he gets off line,
like that,
he just had a bit of a spin. Oh, He spun, corrected, or half spun, corrected, and it gripped and absolutely flung him to the outside wall.
So Paul Gentilozzi done for the day. At the bottom of your picture in the red and white Mustang, Dorsey Schrader is your leader. We have a great battle going for second place. We'll be back to see how it develops when we return to Phoenix, Arizona. The history of the SCCA Trans Am Series, and we have had some incredible action under the caution flag. Your leader is Dorsey Schrader, behind him Max Jones, but further back in that pack was the car of Tom Kendall. Now, while they were circulating under caution, evidently the drivers thought that they were being given a green flag this time around. There was a tremendous traffic jam, and Tom Kendall took a beating. He came together with Max Jones, and as you can see, they're taking a close look at Tom's race car. Real bad break, and it happened under the yellow. Meanwhile, Dorsey Schrader in the red and white Whistler Ford Mustang is bringing the pack around, and now Max Jones in the number 2 Mustang is going to pit. He may have damage to his car as well.
Well, of course, this is one of the problems with road racing caution periods. As you can see, there's Dorsey Schrader in the red car in the lead, but those 3 cars behind him are all lapped cars, and so he has a great opportunity to make a tremendous break on Rob Lapalanian.
And Dorsey is bringing this field around at an absolute crawl, because Max Jones is in the pits. He's hoping his teammate can get back out onto the racetrack. They're going to give that car a quick look over and see if Jones can get back out there. Look at this, folks. He can get out there and walk next to him. Now the hammer comes down, and away is Dorsey Schrader. He is flying.
That V8 car of his, that V8 Ford, has got some extraordinary acceleration.
Now there's Max Jones. The plan did not work for the Roush Racing team. He's being held at the pit exit. So Max Jones will go a lap down. That removes the second place car. Tommy Kendall was third. He is now out of that position. He is in danger of being lapped as the field makes its way around. There you see Jones. He's back on the racetrack, but he is a lap down. So make your order. Schrader up front, followed by Bob Lapalane, yet another Roush Racing teammate. Bob Sobey behind him. Lynn St. James, another Roush car, runs behind him. And then Wayne Akers in yet another Ford product, that a Privateer Mustang. And all of a sudden, Dorsey Schrader is once again 100 meters ahead of this field.
Well, he certainly seems to have got this car and this race absolutely sussed out. There we see Lapalane in the JPS, old familiar black and with the yellow piping and coloring on it of the old Formula One team. Looking pretty good today.
Now let me correct myself. As you see Dorsey Schrader dirt tracking that car around, he is Max Jones is not a lap down, but he is at the back of the lead pack, and he is really going to have his work cut out for him, making his way back through the field. It has been a real rock'em sock'em day here in Phoenix. We have had tremendous shuffling, but one constant has been your leader, Dorsey Schrader. Now here, the number 55 of Bob Sobey goes underneath Lynn St. James, close quarters, but he makes it.
Good move there by Sobey, coming up well through the field. He qualified pretty well, but he certainly put on a great show this afternoon. He qualified 9th. Now he's up to 3rd.
Third by my unofficial reckoning. Bob Sobey, Lynn St. James right behind.
Ooh, long slide. Look at the black marks there those guys left as they came around that corner. Into this last, this is the slippery corner. This is a tricky one. Don't get too wide, Lynn, because you'll get wet out there. But no, he has that one under control.
Now the 57 Oldsmobile in the back there is Tony Brosso Jr. He has already made a lengthy pit stop. I don't believe he's running for position. He is at least a lap down, but he is running strongly, as you can see there. Now over the side streets they come. Remember, this is a street circuit, and as a result, the crossing streets leave bumps in the road, and so it's a real bronco busting feat to get these cars down to a stop to make a turn when you're hopping over these crosswalks and things.
Some cars to watch, of course. Jack Baldwin, the number 28 car, in all that shuffle in the slow pace lap. He stopped and put some gas in the car and went to the back of the pack. And of course, Max Jones is at the back of the pack. And another car that's in there and running really strongly now is young Scott Sharp in the 33 car, who started in this race absolutely dead last. And he's up now to about 14th spot. And obviously, it will make no impression at all on Dorsey Schrader, but I'm obviously hoping to make some impression on other people.
Now look at this action. That's Jack Baldwin on the right, coming through some lap cars. Les Lindley on the left, and he's slamming doors with somebody.
Les Lindley taking nothing from anybody there, squeezing through, hanging on to the coattails of Jack Baldwin.
Baldwin, you can see, has got that donut just behind his right front wheel. Now he's got clear track in front of him, and Jack Baldwin's going to be trying to move way up.
Laying rubber then. Les Lindley sticking it right behind him.
This race is set to go, scheduled 42 laps. We are just past the halfway mark, but Jack Baldwin is driving as though it were the last lap.
Well, he's got to get cracking here because he's got to get up with those leaders. He's not going to catch Dorsey Schrader, but he might try and mix it with the other guys.
Every time I see somebody come through that turn at the pit entrance, I wonder whether they're going to make it out. It is still damp down there. We've had a sprinkling rain throughout the long caution period, starting at lap 14, lasting till about lap 20. In the background, you saw Paul Gentilosi's Oldsmobile parked against the pit wall. There's Bob Lapalainen. We'll look a little bit further back. Here comes Bob Sobey, getting twitchy as he hops over the crosswalk. Behind him, Lynn St. James, that 07 car, is the 4th place machine.
That's Tony Broso. Hanging right in there.
There comes Wayne Akers. I believe that's your 5th place car, number 21.
And is that Chris Neifel there in the second one of the...
Yes, that is Chris Neifel, who spun out early in this race and is driving back through the field.
Chris Neifel doing a good job, isn't he?
Good job indeed. In fact, he led a couple of these Trans Am races last year. There is Paul Newman coming up behind Neifel. I was saying Chris Neifel led a couple of races last year before mechanical difficulties left him hanging. It's interesting to see those two guys running together because Neifel and Paul Newman love to tease each other. They are tremendous practical jokers, and it'll go on all this Trans Am season. One time Neifel filled Newman's car with popcorn.
Chris Neifel, of course, has one major drawback as a race driver. He's about 6'4" tall.
He's about 6'6", because I'm 6'4", and I'm looking up at his chin.
Well, there you go. He can't be right all the time. He's extremely tall anyway. And of course, he used to do IndyCar racing, but it gets more and more difficult to make the cars fit the drivers at that height. And this is the sort of racing that Chris Neifel can excel at.
Okay, our leader is Dorsey Schrader, and he is being followed by teammate Bob Lapalainen. Sobey is running in 3rd position. We'll be right back. First visit to the Grand Prix Street Circuit, jewel of the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona. We now have some sun coming out after on and off rains all morning. Now at the bottom of your picture, there is Tom Kendall coming out on the racetrack. Behind him, Dorsey Schrader held up the field to allow his teammate Max Jones to get in and out of the pits. What happened? We now have a new leader. Lynn St. James goes underneath Bob Lapalainen. We'll get it all straightened out in a moment, but coming into view will be our former leader, Dorsey Schrader, who was forced to... Whoa, we got a car going off backwards, if my eyes don't deceive me. Back to my original point, here comes Dorsey Schrader. Behind him, Max Jones. Behind him, Tom Kendall. All three were brought to the back of the pack for various infractions. Schrader for holding up the field so that Jones could try and get in and out of the pits. Jones for passing under caution to get to those pits. And Kendall for hitting Jones in the first place that put both of them in the pits. I'm not making this up, folks. This is what's going on.
That's very simple. It's quite clear to me. Quite obvious.
Let's get down to find out what the Jack Roush team thinks of all this with John Bizignano.
Well, David Hobbs, it might be a little bit clearer to you than it is to the owner of these cars, Jack Roush. You've been talking to every official in this pit lane. What's the story?
Well, they misunderstood in the tower what we were trying to do. We pitted Max to take the sheet metal off the tire after Tom Kendall had hit him, and they thought that we were trying to get Max back out in front of Dorsey and put a lap on the field. That wasn't our intention. Max wound up behind the field, which he had no reason to be except for the accident, which was needless on Kendall's part. We ran into him. And for whatever reason, they've decided that they're going to take team action, and they penalized both our cars again. I'm really aghast. I can't imagine what they're doing up there.
Is this something that you'd have to protest if it really affects the results? I mean, your car was in the lead.
Well, I've got to get the rule book out and read it. I'm sure that they've got some rules to deal with this, but I don't know what they are. So we'll just have to see what our options are. It's clear that the chief steward was not aware of what was going on. He's made a terribly bad call. I expected better than that from them at this point.
Well, that bad call might provide some very good racing.
And as that happened, you saw the 07 of Lynn St. James go around. She was the race leader and in position to win her first Trans Am race. The first ever by a female driver, but she looped it away there. Now she's got to pass a number of cars in front of her. 75 is Paul Newman. Right behind is Lynn St. James. Here's another look, David.
Then St. James coming down to the end of the long Washington Street straight there, just completely loops the car, and into the lead goes
Bob Sobey.
Exactly.
Driving a chassis built by Jack Roush.
Bob Lapalena then, the black JPS car. We don't know what happened to him on the restart. It must have fouled up on the start because he was overwhelmed by these other cars. Now he's going to be desperate to get back to that lead because he knows coming through the field like an avenging angel is Dorsey Schrader and Max Jones. Dorsey Schrader, of course, who got aced out by that most bizarre piece of rule reading by the organizers here. And like Jack Roush, the whole thing is absolutely beyond me, I guess beyond most rational people. But whoever said race, and there's our new leaders. It must be very slippery down there, huh?
That's the 57 car. That was Tony Barroso going in backwards. And he really put a shot on that Oldsmobile.
But not to be daunted, off he goes, leaving a bit of bodywork in the middle of the track there.
Let's take another look at this one now.
This, of course, was like he was your second place car.
And there is Sobey drifting to the back of your picture, so Barroso had taken over the point, although I don't believe he was leader on the racetrack after a long pit stop early, and any hope of taking over the lead is now gone. I make Lapalena our new leader. And you see the tire smoke coming off of his car. There's Dorsey Schrader's hood.
So Dorsey Schrader must have been trying too hard in the melee.
Good night, nurse. Somewhere. I see what happened. He was assaulted by a corner worker. They're looking for a souvenir. Folks, we're calling him like we see him. There is Dorsey Schrader. At least he's getting along with his aerodynamic. Well, I can't call it an improvement to the car.
Somebody's smoking badly in front of Dorsey. As you can see, that smoke hanging in the air. I think it's Scott Sharp, but I'm not absolutely sure. And there we see the
Max Jones goes out the bottom of the picture, then Jerry Brassfield, then the number 1 of the defending Trans Am champion, Dorsey Schrader. There's the 33, that is Scott Sharp, who started at the back of this field. He has a comprehensive detonation in that engine, it looks like.
Boy, it's smoking real badly in certain places. It's just, on the overrun, it's just pumping the oil up to the top of those cylinder heads, and as soon as he opens the gas, out all that oil smoke
coming out the windows. I can't believe he can see.
All you don't have to see here, good grief, I mean, you don't have to read the rule.
Let's get down to John Bizignano in the pit lane.
The word on Scott Sharp is the fact that he has a oil leak in the engine and the oil is blowing all over the headers. They believe it is nothing but a valve cover, but they think that the oil will be spilling out to the point where they could receive a black flag at any time from the officials. He is laying down oil on this main straightaway. We can see it plainly.
Well, next time he goes by, John, I think you'll see what the officials do. He is an absolute locomotive when he gets into a turn or anything that upsets the oil level in that engine.
I think it was coming out the gaskets. I'm sure there's smoke all the time, but after he's had a long period on the overrun there, and the windscreen looks like it's broken. I wonder if he may have tried to headbutt Dorsey Schrader's hood, possibly when it was flying around. Who knows?
Oh, and now number 42 is going around with some severe front quarter damage. Bob Patch, who has run Corvettes for years out of Laverne, California.
I noticed old Bob just a few laps as he went past the start, as he went past the booth. Oh, Bob's calling it a day. Well, I get that back. He's probably not calling it a day. He's coming to have some of that junk removed, and then he'll carry on.
He's calling it a lap, let's say that. Now, that's kind of an odd place for that kind of bodywork damage, though. Right behind the left wheel. Looks like he took like a hand grenade went off. Meanwhile, Scott Sharp continues his merry way around, smoking like a chimney. Now back up front, Bob Lapalena in the 4 car. Right behind him, Chris Neifel, who started well back in this field in the 11th spot. Now coming up back from the back in the green, Jack Baldwin, who has had himself a day as well, including a pit stop for fuel.
Which put him to the back, of course. And Chris Neifel, as you said, had a spin, which put him way back even after he made a pretty tardy start. So these guys' fortunes have, to say the least, had a major, major turnaround back in that front group. Baldwin was in the front group, lost touch with the group, stopped in a pit stop. Boy, he uses the road up there. He's
still sliding that car around.
Going like a good one, Jack.
And we've got to say at this point, anybody has a shot at winning this race.
And Neifel's going to have a go around Lapalena.
Now, Neifel,
got a yellow flag there, sorry.
Neifel started 11th, spun himself even further back in the field, and has charged back. He is in 2nd place after all of the carnage, all of the rules breaking, depending on which side you're on, and all of the penalties. They are now waving yellow flags all the way around this 2.36-mile racetrack in order to clean up the debris. We have plenty of action still to come, folks. Don't leave us now. In the Trans Am race here on the Phoenix Grand Prix Street Course, Robert Lapalena is your leader after starting 7th in the field, followed by Chris Neifel in a Chevrolet, Wayne Akers in a Ford, Jack Baldwin in a Chevy, and Lynn St. James, who led at one point. The second 5 are Paul Newman, Jim Durhag, Scott Hare, Max Jones, and Dorsey Schrader. Jones and Schrader were black flagged for pit infractions. Now as we go green, we have 10 frontline cars in a drag race to the finish. 8 laps remaining. Lapalena. Chris Neifel drifts a little bit to the left of your screen. That's Jack Baldwin coming over, looking for a place to get by, but he can't. At the end of the long Jefferson Street straightaway,
Jack Baldwin,
a sharp turn.
Excuse me, Jack Baldwin being very clever there. He realized he wasn't going to make it, dropped back a little bit and took a real wide line at that corner to make sure that he comes off this corner quick to try and make ground up. Instead of falling into the trap like so many people do, trying to persevere with the pass. Obviously wasn't going to work.
There have been no pit stops, so everybody is running on worn tires, worn brakes, worn clutches, and there, Wayne Akers is taken down by Jack Baldwin.
Baldwin, of course, started again right at the back of this field at one stage.
He and Akers going door to door.
Oh,
right-hand turn coming up, or left, I should say, which means Akers has the line and he takes the position back.
Oh, Akers is not giving up without a struggle here. I mean, Jack Baldwin is no mean opponent.
Wayne Akers out of Florida would like nothing better than to finish third in this race. That'd be his all-time best on the Trans Am. Baldwin comes back as they make the right-hander onto Washington Street on a long straightaway, and Akers gets sideways. There's rubber everywhere.
A lot of rubber being put down on the ground, and there, that hoodless car coming into view. That's Dorsey Schrader, who led this race so easily with the drop of the flag and kept on leading until he had the infraction. They made him go into the pits and dropped into the back of the field.
Akers getting sideways under braking. Lynn St. James in the 07 car looking to take away that number 5 spot. This is sedan racing at its best on the streets of Phoenix. Lapalainen and Chris Neifel moving away a little bit now. Baldwin, the 28 car, is third. The 21 is fourth. That's Wayne Akers. Fifth, Lynn St. James in the 07. There's Jim Durhag in the 40 car. There's Max Jones. Here comes Dorsey Schrader, the defending champion. Kind of remodeled the front end of that Mustang some, but he is not giving in. And I've got to believe he's got more race car under him than anybody else, because he did lead this race so decisively early on. Now Lapalainen opens up about a 3 or 4 car length gap over Neifel. This might be a first career Trans Am victory for Bob Lapalainen.
Jack Baldwin there still holding off Wayne Akers, and right behind Akers is Lynn St. James, the 07 car.
Good battle now. Right-hander coming up. Akers still getting sideways.
Akers' car is definitely on the loose side. Every time he goes around these corners, he fishtails really well now. Of course, he's got to be careful. The track is now pretty well dry completely. If he's not careful, he can burn his tires off, but at least take away the edge for the last few laps of this race.
Look at the gap opened up by Bob Lapalainen in his 19th Trans Am start. Now we'll drift back a little further in the field. Here comes Max Jones and his teammate Dorsey Schrader. Jones is the guy who is here to score points for the championship. He'll run the whole series this year, 16 races long. Dorsey Schrader will not, but I tell you what, this guy is a race car driver. He's going to want to get past Jones if he can.
Schrader's car, of course, must be horribly unaerodynamic at the moment with that whole front end gone, not just the hood, but it's the fenders, the bumper, everything that helps to give this car any aerodynamic ground effect it's got.
To the far left, that's the Camaro of Jim Durhag. He's going to try to take a shot at Lynn St. James. She's going to take one at Wayne Akers.
And pulls it off, and Durhag is right in there. Durhag's got the most Trans Am races under his belt, but never a winner. But boy, he's trying hard today.
Look at them all come together. Let's get a comment from John Bizignano in the pits.
You're looking at the very lovely wife of the leader of this Trans Am, Bob Lapalainen, and he does not understand English. He's from Finland. His wife is very fluent in English. The team has to tell her the orders to Bob, and she translates it into Finnish. Some extra help down here from a lovely lady.
I need to tell her where to put that microphone so we can hear her in the bellowing of these V6 and V8 engines. 6 laps remaining, and Lapalainen pulling away. Here comes Jack Baldwin lighting them up.
Boy, yeah, now that'll really put it.
That's at a crosswalk. That's where the cars get very light. Looks like Dorsey was going to try the outside of Max Jones, but no, he's going to sit in behind.
Difficult part to overtake here. They make a right and a left and another left, and then a right back onto Jefferson. There's no real chance to overtake here. Except on the exit, when they come back onto Jefferson, they get a bit of a straight, sweeping left-hander. Schrader seems to lose out a little bit on acceleration. Makes a good line, though, using all the road. There
There's the second place car of Kneifel. Jack Baldwin lights them up again. He's got braking problems with that car. There goes Lynn St. James. Wayne Akers being pressured hard now by the 40 of Jim Durhog, the all-time leader in Trans Am starts. In his 94th appearance, he has yet to win a race. The 2 is Max Jones, and then the number 1 of Dorsey Schrader without the engine hood.
Dorsey Schrader using up all the road. I think that Jack Baldwin may have had a bit of a brake problem with this car all afternoon, which is why he hasn't been able to quite hang in there with the leaders. He's doing a tremendous job. Couldn't quite hang on to Schrader earlier on in the race.
Max Jones taking a look there at Jim Durhog. Inside the Chevy Camaro he goes. Looks like he'll take that position away, and Wayne Akers spins it around. He gives up a position the hard way. Oh, careful now.
Reverse. Oh, no.
No, that's Paul Newman's car, the 75. Les Lindley right behind him.
In the yellow number.
I'll take another look at that. Here's another look now. Watch Wayne Akers in the front of your picture. The 21 car can't quite catch it up. Nice job by Max Jones to get on the brakes and avoid him.
That dark patch on the road there at the end of Washington Street is obviously incredibly slippery, because that's where we saw the 57 car bash itself up Tony Broto just a few moments ago.
Just 5 laps remaining in the race. You're going to want to stick around for the end of this one, folks, and it's coming up right after this. Trans Am event, first event of 1990 here in Phoenix, Arizona. Bob Barsha, David Hobbs, and John Bizignano with you. Robert Lapalainen is your leader. And there is Dorsey Schrader, the pole sitter, the defending class champion, and the man who led this race handily early on. The last 20 laps of this race have not gone his way. He was pulled into the pits and black flagged for holding up the start in order to allow his teammate Max Jones to get in and out of the pits. Team owner Jack Roush says that wasn't the case, but that's the way the officials saw it.
And Dorsey Schrader will be extremely upset with that, because he really had this race locked up. It was his race, and I think pretty unfairly he was penalized basically a whole lap. I mean, he was put right to the back of the field. It was even worse than a normal stop and go penalty. Put right to the back, and of course had to pay the penalty by driving over his head a bit and out of the race.
5 laps remaining. It'll be 4 to go this time around. There is Jack Baldwin with Lynn St. James right behind him. That is 3rd and 4th in the race right now. Chris Kneifel going out of your picture to the left. Jack Baldwin out of Marietta, Georgia, in that Chevy Camaro, trying to uphold Chevy honor. There is your leader, Bob Lapalainen, in that black JPS, the colors of the old Lotus team. That's Scott Sharp, we just got around. Sharp is a couple of laps down. He had to stop and get the windshield replaced on his car. There is Chris Kneifel, who started 11th in this field.
Now running second.
Now running second.
Being hounded by Lynn St. James. Lynn St. James is really all over him like a cheap suit in the Mustang car. Another Jack Roush car, and she certainly looks as if she's got every chance of taking away that 3rd spot from Jack Baldwin.
Back onto Jefferson Street they go. Now Lynn must know that Jack is having braking problems. He keeps locking it up in that Chevy Camaro. So she doesn't want to get too close, but she wants to pressure him into making a mistake. She had a look at the lead early on, but spun out at the end of Jefferson Street. The leader goes out of your picture to the right. There goes Scott Sharp, a 3-time amateur champion. Then Chris Kneifel, then the 28 of Jack Baldwin. And Jack now closing up on Kneifel.
The 6th car of Kneifel.
Oh, and Jim Durhog has gone around in the 40 car. Tough break for Jim Durhog. All-time leader in Trans Am starts, still looking for that first victory. There is your leader, Bob Lapalainen. There goes young Scott Sharp.
Bob Lapalainen certainly seems to have it locked up, but the way this race has gone this afternoon, I'm not going to say anybody's got this thing locked up until the checkered flag falls well and through.
We'll have 3 laps to go this time around. This is the battle for 3rd place, but it could very soon be the battle for 2nd place. Somebody laid up some tire smoke there. Somebody is smoking badly. It might be Scott Sharp once again. Yeah, the 33 car. He was smoking badly earlier on. They didn't call him into the pits for that, but to change the shattered windshield. But he has definitely got engine problems, and that could be a factor. There is the smoke screen set up by Scott Sharp. Kneifel coming in right behind him. And Lapalainen is just running away. He's got almost a straightaway, about a 6 city block gap at this point. Chris Kneifel will go underneath Scott Sharp. Sharp's going to have to get to this corner in a hurry, because right behind him comes the battle for 3rd. Jack Baldwin just holding off Lynn St. James. And now St. James will have to deal with Scott. Oh, and she almost tags him.
Oh, Lynn getting that car ready across up. Scott Sharp, actually, to give him his due, was staying out of the way as well as you can with a car that's 7 foot wide. I mean, what are you going to do is put it behind the wall? You just can't. But he stayed well out of the way to let them through it. But she had to pinch the corner just a bit, gave it a bit too much welly, and the old wheels are spinning. And there, right behind her, is Max Jones, who's also come from the back. And her teammate, but I don't suppose he's about to show any quarter. Jack Baldwin nearly again. She knows that that's his weak point, is braking. She made right up a lot of time on him, but couldn't quite get round him. Max Jones now looking for that fourth.
Oh, and Lynn gets sideways. What great stuff. Baldwin, St. James, and Max Jones. They will have 2 to go this time around. They're on the backside straightaway, Washington Street, if you know Phoenix.
That car of Lynn's looks a bit loose to me. She's using more room. Jones coming right down the inside, trying to outbrake his teammate, Lynn St. James, and she has to concede the corner to him. Slippery bit of road that.
So move Max Jones up into 4th position now. Lynn St. James back to 5th. The 3, 4, and 5 cars go by our speed shot.
Now can Max Jones get Jack Baldwin in that Chevrolet? Can the Mustang of Max polish off yet another Camaro before this race? Though, look at that black rubber he's got in. Lynn St. James's car is really loose, just like Wayne Aiken's car, who slipped down the pit.
Speaking as a group, there is some tremendous driving going on down there. 600 horsepower cars weighing just over 2,500 pounds, and they are slinging them around. Max Jones to the right of this duo, Jack Baldwin on the left. Can he get it on the right hand? Can he do it from the outside? I don't think so. Oh.
Well, now Jack Baldwin's brakes don't seem to be giving him any problem now, because that was a classic case in point where Max could have had him, but he was trying the outside pass. We saw one of those 2 weeks ago in Miami, if you remember, when young Dre Golson tried to do the same thing to Warwick.
And you know what happened to him.
Yeah.
He wound up in the wall. Baldwin, Max Jones, Lynn St. James, she's not out of this one yet. There's another look at Max Jones getting wiggly under braking. Jack Baldwin holding him to the outside. He wants him to stay out there.
But on the other hand, it was Baldwin's line. He was about a quarter of the car in front, and there was nothing that Max Jones could do about it. That's the trouble with trying to take an outside pass. Sometimes it works, but usually it doesn't. Baldwin using every inch of road as he goes down that 3rd street under the bridge there. Quite incredible. And hasn't tagged the wall once, as far as we know.
There is the gap to the leader. Bob Lapalainen goes out the bottom of your picture. There's the 2nd place car, Chris Neifel from Illinois.
Jones again, down the inside on Washington Street. Now, this has not worked for a lot of people this afternoon. It's very slippery there. Baldwin's locked up, and he spins around, and Max gets through, and James does as well.
Oh, get it straight, Jack. Come on, get it around.
There. He must have stalled it.
Oh, too bad. Well, that moves Max Jones now up into 3rd position. Lynn St. James inherits 4th. No, Jack's got it going, but he drops to the back. That'll put him in about 9th position. Les Lindley coming up quickly behind, but he drops back behind Paul Newman.
Those brakes locked up again. This time it was his rear. He just could have an air problem in the brakes. His brakes just generally seem to be going on.
That wasn't Paul Newman. That's Scott Sharp's car, so Jack really hasn't lost that many places. Just ahead of Les Lindley. Meanwhile, as they approach the final turn to get onto the front straightaway, our leader is on his last lap. Here they come, off turn number 12. Onto the front straight across the start-finish line. There is your leader, Bob Lapalainen, out of Helsinki, Finland. John Bizignano has already told us he does not speak English, but I imagine his smile will tell it all for him. If he can get to victory lane, and even with half a lap of this 2.36-mile circuit remaining, it's not a done deal.
Not with the way the rest of this race has gone. It certainly is not a done deal. Jack Roush, of course, will be particularly pleased. I think he feels he's been slighted by the officialdom here. He may or he may not have done, depends how the way you look at it. But in the end, one of Jack Roush's cars looks like it has won the race. We won't say it has yet, because it hasn't.
Wonder how much play this will get on the sports pages of the newspapers in Helsinki. And the car is pristine. Oh, Jack Baldwin has looped it again and backed it into the tire wall, but he is not done yet. Big Jack from Marietta, Georgia is not finished. But Bob Lapalainen is very close to being finished, and the car is pristine on a day when we've seen all of these cars beaten up. Here's another look at what happened to Jack a moment ago.
Again, losing it. It certainly looks as if he's got a braking problem, because he keeps on losing it going into these corners. But his car, on the other hand, looks awfully loose, too.
Back to our leader once again. 2 turns from the finish is Bob Lapalainen.
Back onto Washington, swings on this nice 180 degrees, bit bumpy, has been very slippery all afternoon, and bursts onto Jefferson Street to take the checkered flag.
And indeed, the checkered flag waves for Bob Lapalainen of Helsinki, Finland. And a Jack Roush crew that has been through more than its share of ups and downs this afternoon salutes their man. Winner of the first race of the 1990 season, the 25th year of Trans Am racing with the Sports Car Club of America, the 250th race.
So, a Jack Roush Mustang won the race, and the Jack Roush Mustang was on the pole, and one of the ICI Beretta Chevrolet finished second, and they were second on the grid, but they were all the wrong drivers.
Not wrong, just different. There's Dorsey Schrader, your pole sitter, getting a lift home from teammate Bob Lapalainen. Maybe presaging a changing of the hands in the championship, the Trans Am. We'll be right back to meet our winner. ESPN Speed World coverage of the SCCA Trans Am from Phoenix, Arizona has been brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. By Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Florsheim Comfortech. Total comfort or a total refund at participating retailers. Well, Bob Lapalainen is certainly driving a potent Ford, and he's taken it to victory lane, where he's standing by now with John Bisognano.
Bob Lapalainen, a lot of sweat on you, an awful hard race. Did you ever think you were going to be winning and here in victory circle?
Yes, this is first time my life, and I am so very happy because my car is perfect. This is working very well all of time. No, I have so very easy drive, and my Goodyear tire is best. This is fantastic race. This is couple of times I have a little bit problem because after pace cars when we starting, I have a little bit problem, but I am here.
Well, the moves were right today for you, and congratulations to Jack Roush, who certainly had a rough afternoon, but became the winner.
Well, to the most American of road racing series, you can add a very foreign flavor. Robert Lapalainen from Finland, our winner here today. We'll give you a look at the top 15. Lapalainen over Chris Neifel, coming from 11th place, Max Jones, Lynn St. James, Wayne Akers. In 6th place, Les Lindley, followed by Tom Kendall, Paul Newman, Jim Durhag, Bart Kendall. And the next 5, Randy Ruhlman, Scott Hare, Brian Clifton, Jack Baldwin after an eventful last few laps, and Steve Barber. It's all a part of a big Trans Am series coming your way here on ESPN. We'll hope you'll be watching. I'm Bob Varsha. Thanks for joining us. For David Hodge and